into and became some of the most important institutions here, such as Emerge, if I understand the lineage, right? So this is the thing I think we need to keep doing. It's from 50 years to now, the lineage of what Anne has contributed is tremendous. In the early 80s, she experienced gun violence firsthand. The death of a close friend who was killed with no justice served. Most people might live in fear after that, but not Anne. It deepened her commitment to building a world where such losses can become rare, possible, and that young people are the ones who will build it. Thank you.
Because this represents not only, I mean, literally Anne, but the structure, the configuration, the detail, the information. This is Anne, and you continue to amaze me. So the piece, so my name is Amy Bass. I'm the Executive Director of Prevention at Portable Practical Educational Preparation, otherwise known as PEP. And Anne has been a champion for PEP and all that we stand for, so I'm indebted and grateful to Anne. But when, before I went to PEP, the Community Prevention Coalition was part of Pasadena. And Pasadena used to be the Compass Healthcare that merged with SAMHEC, Southern Arizona Mental Health, right? You all remember that, right? Yeah. And so we became Pasadena, and it was about that time, we were over there on South 6 in the pink, the Arizona Children's Orphanage, you remember that, the building? And my staff was running out to go somewhere and didn't have the time to talk to me. And I said, well, I go, where are you going? She says, well, I don't know, but I've got to go. Anne Yellott said I have to be there. And I thought, excuse me? And who is this Anne Yellott? And you know, they were off. And I was like, okay, make a mental note. I got to find out who this person is. And they were all talking about Anne Yellott, Anne Yellott. And I finally got to find out who Anne Yellott was. And I was so intrigued. And I was like, wow, anybody that generates that kind of urgency and direction to people in the field is somebody. And I met Anne, and I was very, very impressed. So my life has been blessed to be able to be in meeting Anne at different points in time. I want to say that in regards to peace, and for some reason a lot of peace stuck out to me. So peace has to be purposeful, right? And Anne is very purposeful. Anytime I've worked with Anne, there is a plan, there is a way, there is an order, there is an organization, there are all kinds of things that have to happen. And Anne continues to be able to carry this not only in her heart, but in her head, and she continues to be amazing. The other word that popped up to me was passionate, and Anne has so much passion for what she does, and it is authentic. And I will tell you, recently there was a opportunity that we were involved in, and there was a group in town that wanted to fund her project, but they couldn't fund her. And manager, and knowing that she was basically unfunded, and she has been working for 2.5 years without pay, she said to me, Amy, they can't fund me, but I'm going to give them the project. And I went, you know, if it was me, I'd been like, yeah, I get it. But I was an advocate for Anne, and I'm like, Anne, you need to get paid. You need to tell them that you come with the project. They've got money. They can figure it out. She said, Amy, it's not about the money. And I'm like, didn't you just tell me you haven't been paid? The woman is passionate, and it's authentic, and it comes from her heart, and it runs through her veins. And you know, that's the kind of commitment, not that, I mean, gosh, we should all be advocating for the field for more money, but Ann never puts money first, she puts people first. And she got that project funded, and it went off, and it was wonderful. She still didn't get paid, but she is passionate, and that speaks to who she is.
Thank you. Those remarks were absolutely beautiful. I'm really happy that you all have the opportunity and the time in your schedules to make it to your house. This is yours. It's the house of the people. It's a constituent house. It's elected office, and you own it. And it should be used by the people, and that's it. And I tell everybody that. So I'm glad you're here in your home using this for something that I believe is really, really special. As an elected leader in a county, you think you have an idea when you start what you're going to do. And you go along the way, and I believe if you're a good elected official, I believe you learn from your people that care about really good things. You learn not just about the job, and not just about the kids in the community, but sometimes how to act towards kids, or how to even act towards people. Even the simple pleasures of handshakes and hugs, there's etiquettes and ways to learn that. I've learned that a lot for the team, especially with Ann and Vanna. That was the first part for me, to become humbleized and learning like, hey, this is a really serious position. And what I do in the face of people and students and individuals, and what politicians do is a little bit different. So your actions go a little bit louder, or they mean a little bit different in front of people. Not that everybody else's actions don't, but there's a common respect level that needs to be learned. That was something that I learned early and often, and I'm proud to be able to talk about that and say that. For me, what I think about every day is right now. We talk about it in a moment, man, right? This moment right here. I know right now there is a student that is identified any way they want, and they should be. And they can be anyone they want to be. And they should be. And I know they are sitting somewhere in our community struggling, having a really hard day. As we're all getting ready for graduations, as we're celebrating really kind of neat events, as we're celebrating Ann on this really special day, there's a child right now having a real hard day. But it gets a little bit better when there's a room full of fighters and people that have the heart and the care to step up and do the good work. And to push the people that make some of the choices or can make that connection. To get the phone call from Ann and say, get over here, you're getting involved in this. For Michael to call me like, you're doing the survey. For Brian Eller to be like, we gotta figure out how to do COVID. Steve Holmes' office and the whole county come over there and be like, okay, what are we going with schools? What's happening next? To Regina Romero's office. Elected governing board members from each district, Steve Teddo and others. Waking up every day fighting the fight and saying, hey, when I start my morning, how am I making that child's life somehow brighter? And I believe that there's people in the community that just have the spark. So I knew when I got Ann here, it dawned on me, she's gonna come with a whole cohort of a bunch of these people that have the same values. And boy, did you guys show up. And this is an example of what a community should be. Because when we walk through the halls of our schools or down the streets of our community, we're thinking about the best for that other person before ourselves. I'm humble. As an elected leader, you look for who is doing some of the real grind, hard work that is working and making a difference. And time out and time again, Ann delivered that message to me and to our community, and brought these students, much like this, in these groups that you're sitting here in these circles, having conversations and hearing them. And they often say so much. They say, what do you guys need? What's the, you ask the youth, they wanna be heard. They want what they have to be, what's inside their hearts and their minds. They want people to listen to that. And then they want it to be delivered. And I think that's where we still fall short in our communities. It's delivering on that. Except for programs that are really caring and working together and collaborating. Like all of you are. So, please. More me. It's a small token, but it's much greater than anything that I can imagine of what's happening from the work that you're doing. I'm so proud of you, and I'm thankful. I am thankful for what you have done and do and will continue to do. So without further ado, congratulations. Woo!
I was waiting for you, Hassan.
Now, Rain.
Where's Hassan? Is this where I get to say my remarks? This is quite astounding. And I want to first express gratitude, definitely. Thanks to Banner for reminding me about the importance of gratitude in this moment. And so definitely to Superintendent of Schools Dustin Williams, and then of course Leslie Anway with the Resilient Schools Program, and Catherine Tornbaum with the Center for Community Mediation and Facilitation that helped to kind of organize and plan some of this event as well. And then of course to all of you around the table, because this award is, as I see it, you know, it's not just for me, but it's really for collectively all of us, because all of the work that I've done over the years has been always, you know, collective. It's always been involved with a group of people who were, putting together first the shelter, you know, for abused women. Well, when we first started the shelter, it was actually for women in crisis. It was a crisis hospital, if you would. And so it was open for all women that were experiencing any kind of crisis. Although very quickly, the dominant needs of women in abusive relationships became fast obvious, and that's what the shelter very quickly evolved into being a domestic violence shelter for women. And then of course we almost immediately expanded the name from Tucson Center for Women to be Tucson Center for Women and Children, because we saw the impact obviously on the children that were coming with their mothers to the shelter from living in an abusive situation. So it was critical to begin offering some programming for the youth that were at the shelter, and recognizing, you know, that need for addressing the needs of the children and the youth involved, as well as obviously definitely the women involved. So looking back, when Leslie reached out and emailed me about this award, I will admit that there was a part of me that had to, again, a little help from Vanna in thinking about it this way, was that, you know, kind of thinking, okay, universe, this is so interesting that because I had been feeling pretty desperate at times about the financial situation. It's not quite as critical as Amy said. It's been 15 months. But it has been more like 2.5 years since paid regularly, but 15 months, yeah.
See how she is? She's so humble.
But at any rate, but that's not sustainable. I mean, that's the main issue, is that that's not a sustainable model, and that's been something that we've looked at in doing this Youth and Peace Conference, was what was sustainable, what could keep it going, because that's when we decided that holding it on a Saturday and having to recruit the youth to come, and they often had to bring their little brothers and sisters because they were in charge of childcare for the, you know, for the Saturday, for the weekend. So we had to set up a childcare facility to be at the conference, so that the little kids could also be taken care of. So for the first 4 or 5 years, the conference was really all ages of youth in some ways, because we had elementary school age, you know, definitely youth that were there, as well as middle school and high school, although as it evolved, and we took on the LULAC model is what we called it, and Javier came at just the right moment. He'd been involved for years with the LULAC conference, the Youth Leadership Conference that LULAC put on for many years, 29, 30 years or so. Yeah, and then it was when the pandemic happened, right before that 30th one, and that had to be called off. But that model of working with Pima College and bringing students from schools, getting schools to register the students and transport them to the conference at Pima College, because Friday is a light day for classes and we had access to classrooms. And Javier had been involved for years with you, since you were in middle school, I think, you know, went back a long way. And for a variety of reasons, he reached out and said, hey, can I come over and help your conference? You know, we were right at the point where we decided that holding it on a Saturday, as we had been doing, was not a sustainable model to go forward. We wanted to take on the LULAC model. And there comes Javier, and right when we kind of needed to make that transition to holding it at Pima College, and not holding it on a Saturday, but holding it on a Friday, and then working with schools to register the students and bring them, transport them to the conference. Instead of having to figure out how they're gonna get there on their own on Saturday, you know, maybe showing up and maybe not. But it's still a question of maybe showing up and maybe not, you know, because sometimes things happen on the day of the conference. But you know, and then being able to, I mean, I remember, Javier, you introduced me to, or us to, David Doré, and we went and met with David in order to talk about transitioning, moving the conference to Pima College. And David immediately, I mean, he just got it in 2 seconds, literally. I don't think we were with him more than 10 minutes, and he's on the phone making calls to other people at the college to set it up so that we could hold the conference. The first time we did it at the downtown campus, and then we realized we needed a bigger venue, so then moved to the west campus for Pima College. But that's a good example how it's always been, you know, it's always been a collective undertaking, a collaborative undertaking. So just wanting to acknowledge and recognize some of the people that are here today. When I mentioned Javier earlier, Javier was critically involved in the Nonviolence Legacy Program, and is still the program manager with that program here. And it was really through the nonviolence, you know, on that sheet, that spreadsheet with the 50 years, a decade of work, that the Nonviolence Legacy Program was where that work started in the Culture of Peace Alliance, under that umbrella, COPA umbrella. And so that's where when Becky called, I was program manager, kind of working with Hassan, and we were training high school age youth to be nonviolence trainers. And so that's why you called, I think, was, oh, here's someone doing work with youth, schools, and peace related. And it was like, yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. Let's, you know, pull people together. And so for the first 4 or 5 years, the conference was part of the Nonviolence Legacy Program. And a lot of the pictures here, Andrea Martinez, who unfortunately is not here today, but she started with us as either sophomore or junior. I think she was kind of like in between. And she was part of the training first as a youth nonviolence trainer, and then she was involved in training with all the other youth that were part of that team. She was involved in training lots of other youth, and then
to this space for the work that you're doing, and I just want to show my gratitude for all the work that you continue to do, and Anne, of course, thank you, and huge gratitude to you. So thank you all for coming. If you would like to sign, we are going to have people sign this, and then let Anne take that with her. So if you're interested in signing that before you leave, that would be wonderful. But thank you all for coming. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate your time. Okay, thank you.